Hello, community. It's me, Michael from Vagabond. Welcome to the Actor's Journey. In this series, we talk to Chicago professionals and offer a Chicago perspective on the national entertainment industry. As I said, I am your host, the owner and founder of Vagabond School of the Arts, and today we have a wonderful guest. He's one of our core ensemble teachers, and he's been building an impressive and diverse acting career spanning nearly 3 decades. Ed Kross is our guest, and he has seamlessly navigated everything from blockbuster films like Ocean's 12 and Road to Perdition. I'm going to have to ask him about how Tom Hanks is doing, to critically acclaimed TV series like Fargo, Chicago Med, and Patriot, which, again, if you haven't seen that on Amazon, it is amazing and awesome, and you should go check that out right after this. And all of that included, not to mention his, I think it was 3 million commercials that he has filmed during his tenure here in Chicago. He'll have to, again, fact check me on the 3 million, but we'll get into it. And also, for anybody who is in our theater community, you know that Ed is a respected member of that community, and it's always great to see him on stage. So I'm going to stop talking about him. I'm going to stop. Don't look at me anymore. I'm going to bring in Ed here. So let us get to Ed Kross. There's Ed Kross. Hey, Ed.
What an introduction. My gosh.
What
And by the way,
an introduction.
that was 3,000,001 commercials.
I knew it. So close. 3,000,001.
I wish.
Well, I know, right? Yeah. Well, welcome, Ed. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Actor's Journey.
Happy to be here, truly, in the comforts of my home.
Yeah, it looks comfy. The thing, well, first of all, can I ask, as I was doing my research and writing the whole thing out about, all of the many things that you've done, I did go look at your IMDb, and the first thing on your theatrical reel is you hanging out with Tom Hanks, not hanging out, but you in a scene with Tom Hanks. So how's that working on Road to Perdition?
I love hanging out too, as if we were at like In-N-Out Burger together. It was amazing. It's something I get asked a lot, and I wish I had some really catty, horrible story. It's literally every last thing you thought it would be. Like kind, very, very funny. Movies take forever to shoot. So even though it's a nice little scene, it was like 7, 8 hours together, just the two of us. And I remember he called it Road to Per Diem, which made me really, really happy. But then the second the camera rolled, bam, focused in character, great, like doing it. So you're just, luckily in this scene I was playing a nervous character, which was more behaving than acting, because let's face it, it was him, and it was also Sam Mendes, the director, who is just spectacular, Oscar winner. Again, and to me it all trickles down from the top. Sam was so nice and kind. Mr. Hanks was so kind and nice, and so the whole set just felt relaxed and terrific. So it was a great experience. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, glad to hear that you don't have any catty thing to say.
Not on the internet,
There you go. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'll tell you everything.
Well, I think that will kind of like lead into the conversation that I asked you to have with me today, which is, for everyone watching, we want to talk a little bit today about what that transition is from auditioning to on set looks like, right? So again, your process, suggestions, thoughts you have on what actors should be doing when auditioning is one thing, right? And then being on set is different, when you're dealing with when you're dealing on camera. So can you talk a little bit right now, again, any thoughts on that just right off the top of the bat?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think things have changed, having done this, as Michael said earlier, for going on 7 decades. Just how auditions work. Because, for example, like slates used to really just be about identifying your clip. So people used to do slates with like dead eyes and they weren't connected. Several large, big casting directors in this town have told me now that slates are paramount, because very often, if you're sitting down, America, very often people will only watch your slate and they will decide from that point if they want to watch the rest of your audition. That's often brand new information to actors, and their eyes pop out of their heads like, I worked so hard at my audition. So I have a saying I use when I teach, which is, whenever there's a camera pointed at you, it counts. Every frame counts, every second of your slate counts, every second of your scene counts. So I think that's the first thing right there is make sure your slate is connected, you're warm, you're engaged with the camera, there's stuff happening in your eyes. And that's the stuff we start with in our level 1 class right away. It's just how to slate so they watch your audition. So I think that's the first big thing right there I work on is just getting people in front of the camera, relaxed and being themselves.
Yeah, I know. I notice a lot. I think especially for Chicago actors, sometimes being in front of a camera is new, right?
Mhm.
And this feeling of feeling stuck or like restricted in who they are in front of the camera. And I feel like a lot of times it does come out in a slate, right? Is like, I'm so sorry, I'm here right now. I don't belong here, And something I'll constantly tell our students or in a coaching is take a breath, relax. You belong here. Your work is valid, and just kind of like keeping that in mind before you even slate, so that you feel confident and comfortable in front of the camera, because that says a lot about who you are and who you're going to be on set.
Absolutely. And even I've seen people stumble on their own name on their slate, and it just shows you exactly that they're so in their head at that point. And it's so we work on that stuff right away just to get people relaxed because then I think you're going to perform better as well. And as we move into doing scenes and different things, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I ever got was, and this sounds, I swear I'm not like, all touchy feely new age, but I was told the camera can capture thoughts. And I have seen it
Mhm.
firsthand, it actually can. So it's also teaching people that they have to do so much less than they think they have to do. That doesn't mean doing nothing. That doesn't mean being a robot and detached. It just means you don't have to show me like it's hot or doing some nonsense like that. It's like
Right.
it's a lot of it's and especially with my stage actors who usually walk in there, they're very good actors. It's finding that way to focus and bring them down a little bit so that their performance still comes through, but isn't so presentational. So that's something else we work
Mhm.
on. In one and really in our Unit 2 classes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in the classes the classes at Vagabond, right, we start off with, we have a curriculum that takes people from audition to on set, right? So, at the top, you're learning kind of our main core language and our technique that we teach at Vagabond, that we've created over 11 years. Again, as of this recording, we just turned 11. So, we've been working on that, and you learn that kind of that core idea, how to stay present, how to stay grounded in the work that you're doing in that on camera 1. But then we kind of move to Unit 2, and we're still auditioning, but we kind of like take it up a notch, give you more stuff to like to mess with you and see if you can hold on to those, that technique and that stuff when you have more lines, or you're being asked to improvise, or again, just managing the self tape, being a producer and director all by yourself, so that is kind of our audition portion. So yeah, I mean, so you were talking about Unit 2, how do you help someone who feels like they just, I basically I have what I need. I've got a core technique, and I don't need to really work on it, anything else.
Right. Uh, yeah. I mean, I use language where I tell people sometimes don't just try to get these jobs. I want you to walk in and take these jobs, which I know sounds very like, aggressive. And I don't mean to sound like that, but my point is it's like I say a lot, make it count, make it count, make it count. So that's especially in level 2s. Yeah, we talk a lot about self tapes. There's actually a self tape assignment where I make sure everyone has a good home setup, where I give them an assignment with it. They have to send things in, but I pay big attention to how you label your files, like all this meticulous stuff that as artists we wouldn't have thought about doing 5, 6 years ago. And now being able to produce your good professional self tape and follow directions from casting, it's everything. So that's probably one of the biggest things too, is that people who might think like, oh, I got this, I can do this. And all of a sudden we throw, great, you have to produce self tapes every week now for the rest of your life. All of a sudden they're like, what? So we try to give them some systems and some ways to do it so that they're enthusiastic and they're always producing quality professional self tapes that will land them jobs. Though I still say, this will be a little ed tip for the actors out there. Very often,
I'm going to hashtag it ed tip.
very often, if you have a chance to go into casting, go in
Mm,
because I
mm.
think a huge part of this business, even though a lot of it is self tapes, which it truly is, it's building relationships with your agent and building relationships with casting directors. And if you have a chance to go in, even to read one line, I guarantee you, you will never regret having Mickey Pascal coach you. Ever in a million years. You'll be so happy you're in that room. They will also shoot this for you, and you get to know them a little bit, and more importantly they get to know you and they know what you might be good at. So I would say in addition to making good self tapes, I do talk a lot of business stuff in my classes, and that's one of the things I say too, like try to get to know casting.
Well, I mean, that's a good point though, as well, right? I mean, obviously, self tapes are very important. It's a huge part of what we do now as actors, but there are still in person auditions. I know I've auditioned at O'Connor Casting. I know PR Casting is doing in person auditions, especially for callbacks. And on top of that, there's also Zoom auditions. So again, being live with another person and being, directed and giving adjustments, that sort of thing is something that I think a lot of actors who are just now getting into the industry, who might be new, or even actors who've been doing this a long time, but just kind of have, I won't say, gotten lazy, but just have relaxed on, like it'll be fine, whatever. Again, there's a lot that goes into, especially on Zoom, like, right? That is live. So you got to make sure all your stuff's set up and ready to go because you don't want to have casting waiting, 15, 20 minutes while you figured out why your internet's not working, right? So,
Absolutely.
all of those, so it's not just self tapes, Zoom auditions,
Yeah,
in person auditions are still happening. So you kind of have to have all of them. Do you want to speak to that? I don't. You're my guest.
absolutely. And I just finished teaching our level 3 class, I call junior
Ooh.
year. I tend to also go like, "Hey, welcome juniors, welcome seniors," when I'm teaching our classes. Um, and our level 3 class in particular, we take people from audition to call back to set, which is a really fun arc to do with the students. And they never know what to expect in our level 3 classes. So, for example, we did a callback day where they walked into the room, and I had a person on Zoom as a director, and they were like, "Oh, where do I look? What do I do? How do I interact with this?" I've had all experiences with that too in my own life. Sometimes there's a Zoom audition and you do it from home. Well, you have to make sure your light is set up. Your Where do you look at your my camera's here, or do I look down here? There's all these techniques we try to cover. At the same time, I've gone into casting offices where the callbacks at casting, but the director is still on Zoom from whatever state he's in or she's in, and so it's just learning how to handle all that. And I think the main thing is to not be thrown by any of it. I think that's what we really prep people for, especially in our level 3. Is here's all the things that will actually happen to you. Yeah, they're going to send you a new script the night before. You're going to walk into the audition that day. They're going to say, "Hey, we've changed the script," and they hand you a new one. There's all sorts of things they do, and the main thing you can do is like, "Great, terrific, I'm ready to play," as opposed to "How dare you, I hate everything." So I think we try to
Yeah.
prep people for all of that, for all of the twists and turns that will come your way with auditioning.
I mean, that's something that I mean, when I was building the curriculum, that was something I had at the forefront of my mind. Of it's not just teaching people the who, what, where, and when. Of I mean, yes, that's important, like being an actor, but our curriculum is very much experience based, right? Like, so if you get thrown something last minute, like that is part of our curriculum is to like feel this out, right? How can you take this information and still come in? Because like on set, speaking of, which we're going to get to in a second, being on set, like you have to stay calm, you have to stay cool, you have to, you have to be able to be flexible because things are constantly changing, and that's just the nature of the business, and not like them trying to like mess with you. It's like, hey, this new information just came in. Can you help us out with this and like make this not so hard on all of us? Can you help ease this thing and like make it happen? And that's kind of your job a lot of times is making sure that you are not the problem, right? Making sure you're not the
Yep,
person that's like the like I can't do this. Is like, okay, I've got this information. How can I help? The production work, whether
yep.
that's an audition or being on set, right? So like it's our curriculum is experiential so that you don't have to experience that for the first time in the room or or on set.
I tell people, I've told this story in my class a couple of times. If it helps, even people who have worked and have done this for a long time, it doesn't mean it's ever like easy. If you're getting some last second thing, it's more just that you roll with the punches easier. When I was working, Michael had mentioned Patriot, which is a series I got to work on. I I'd gotten a call time. It was like I was going to shoot like a Wednesday morning. It was Tuesday night, and I got a call time for like 7 a.m. And I didn't have a script. I wrote back and said, "Hey, yeah, confirming my call time. Do I have script?" And like, "Oh no, they're still writing it." I'm like, "Okay." And so I arrived at set. I'm in hair and makeup. Still no script. I'm like, "Okay." Finally, as I'm back in my trailer, they hand me 2 or 3 pages. I had 40 minutes, and trust me, I had a moment of sheer panic and like, what do I do? And then you realize, okay, what I do is I think of nothing else for the next 40 minutes except the script, and you work it, you work it, work it. Then I went to shoot it. Not only was I outside, which means, by the way, you're going to lose the light. So you don't have a lot of luxury as far as time. I also had a dog, so that's one more element of stuff that's going on. And I had the sides in my pocket, and we would roll, and they would okay, and we would do it, and they'd yell cut. The second they yelled cut, I'd take the sides out and look at them again, and they'd be like, "Eddie, you ready to go?" I'd be like, "Yeah," and we would do it again, and
Yeah.
I got through it that night. I did not know one word of it, but shooting it,
Yeah.
I did. But my point is, that's an example of, yeah, how do you prepare for that? Yeah, I think you prepare for that by knowing that that could happen, to be ready for
Right.
whatever comes your way. Uh, but that was a crazy day for sure.
They should have added a kid, right? So outside with a dog and a kid.
Right. Or
Here's a
live
baby to
angry
here's a baby to
bees.
hold. Why not?
Yeah, angry bees flying around. I don't know,
Angry
something
bees.
juggling at
Yeah,
the same time. Fire.
just to
No, it
mess
was
with you.
great, and it came out great, and you hopefully can. I was proud of myself too. I did not mess up one take because this is how my brain works too. I never want to be the guy who messes up a take unless mistakes happen, and they happen for
Of
everyone
course.
too. But I really was so focused and determined to get that one right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good note too. Is like you don't want to be the person that messes up, but again, you've been on sets, you've seen. I mean, I've seen stars, go up on lines because that's what happens. So, again, but I think that's going back to like being on set, right? Which let's push a little bit further into, that kind of like what you see actors in classes when you're working, like the hardest part about transitioning from like auditioning in front of a wall. You're like, oh, this is easy, and not easy maybe, but like I'm in front of a wall and I'm doing the job in front of a wall in a medium close up, and that's what I know. And now I'm on set and things have changed, right? Like what do you see in that difference? And I think one of the things that that I've experienced when I'm teaching and coaching is that feeling of, in an audition, you do kind of have to go through the whole scene, even if it's like 2 or 3 pages, without stopping, and just kind of being comfortable and understanding that on set, yes, get through the whole thing. But if they need to, in a lot of circumstances, they can cut, right? They can cut in between different takes. So just, again, being present, being flexible, and being okay, and knowing that, like, okay, that line wasn't perfect, but I'm going to keep going anyway, because who knows what's going to happen later, right? But just that kind of the I want to say take the pressure off of like being fully like memorized. You do want to be memorized, but just like taking a little bit of that pressure off of, like, we just got to find the performance, right? We got to find the
Yeah,
performance, and we'll get it. So anyway, so that's something that, just because you brought it up, but like what else have you found with people transitioning from auditioning to on set?
absolutely. And I think that's, as if I'm going to talk about our level 4 classes and a little bit of level 3. We are so used to standing still and doing this in front of our blue wall behind us. All of a sudden, we do an kind of an on-set class at Vagabond where we actually shoot it like it's a movie, or shoot it like it's a TV show. Suddenly, if I tell people, okay, on your lines, you're going to cross here, you're going to sit, you're going to do this, all of a sudden it's like I have to move and talk.
Yeah.
We get so locked into our self tapes, or we're just auditioning in this box, that the idea of all of a sudden moving or gesturing or having to look somewhere, and all of a sudden the lines leave everyone's head. And I see it all the time. So I think it's a really important thing to remind yourself that, yeah, there's an audition technique, which is of course really showing your performance, and then ultimately you get on set. You're going to be outside. You're going to be walking. You're going to be drinking a cup of coffee. You're going to have to add and incorporate movement into it, or just direction. Like, hey, do it again. This time, take a pause here, add this, or be angrier in this moment. It's like, oh, that's 2 pages in. How do I remember all of that? I also think in the world of self tapes, people get very comfortable being at home by themselves, and there's a huge safety net, and that I can stop whenever I want. I can do it again. But suddenly, if you're at a callback or on set, oh, oh God, this is real now. I can't stop. And I've noticed that people they've forgotten a little bit how to be in front of people. It sounds really funny, but that's what I like about our classes too, because I see it. People have said it out loud. They're like, "I'm so used to doing this by myself at home, and now there's people watching me." It's like I always try to tell them, "Well, even that tape you send in, someone's gonna be watching." But I get the point, which is that,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not used to being in front of people. So I think that's important with classes too, is that it gets you back into a performance mentality, and the idea that
Yeah.
uh, you don't have the safety net of just stopping whenever you feel like it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, direction too. Yeah, like you said, right? Just being able to take direction from someone, and make a change in the moment, right? Versus, I'm going to do an audition, then I'm going to go back and look at it, and then you got to be the judge, I guess. But maybe you can judge yourself well and make that direction. But like, something that I found, because I'm a director producer now too, right? So like I've sat on set, and I think it's it's there's this feeling of like an actor doesn't actually know what the director is seeing. I've been a director and been like, great, moving on, we're good. And they're like, I don't know if I felt it. It's like, no, I honestly, camera's in your face. I didn't see your hand doing the thing that you thought it was doing. I don't know. I didn't see it. So we got it. And just like, again, just being confident as the actor to go, okay, like they would stop if the director didn't get what they wanted from this,
Yeah.
right? So just being, just like, you don't know what the framing is exactly, you don't know exactly what's coming across, and you have to trust someone else at the end of the day
It's all
to look at the work and say like that was good.
yeah. I also think it's recognizing it's a different medium. When I work on a play, even though obviously it's not going to be robotic, a director is going to want it to be pretty close 8 times a week. They're going to want you to be doing pretty much the same performance or close to it. On a
Yeah.
set, they may say, we want options. Let's shoot this 3 different ways. And when I get into the editing, we'll figure out what we want that moment to
Mhm.
be. So don't be thrown if the director says, great, now do this one really, really small and dry. Now do this one and you're laughing because you might be like, what? That makes no sense. It's because it's ultimately a director's medium. They may go into the edit and they go, great, I have these 3 different flavors to choose from. Which one do I like? So don't expect it to always make sense either. Like, do what the director is asking you to do in that take.
Yeah. A big soapbox I'm on right now with my students is your job as an actor is not to feel finished, right? Again, in theater, it's like we feel like we've completed the thing, right? The director leaves and we've got the thing and we do it whatever 7, 8 times a week and it's completed. And it's or even in auditions, right? There's this feeling of like, this is done. I have done the right thing. Hopefully, this is hopefully the right finished product. And when you're on set as an on-camera actor, your job is not to feel done. Your job is to be present and flexible, right? Adjustable. That
Big one.
that's kind of your job. So yeah, let the director direct you in a way and just kind of getting used to that, saying, okay, yeah, this doesn't quite make sense to me, but they're doing it this way, and maybe it'll show up in the film and maybe it won't.
Yeah. And very often too,
But you know,
when we're auditioning for these smaller roles, we call them under fives or even a day player moment. You don't always get the whole script, so you may only have a few pages. You don't always have I do my best with my students just to look at like we're detectives. Like, okay, let's assess tone. What do you think this scene's about? What's going on here? So we work on that a lot, but you don't always have the big picture. You have these few pages. So that's in that moment too. You go in, you do your job. The most important thing, listen to the director. And yeah, you're not gonna. I think that's a great way of putting it, Michael. Like, yeah, a play, you rehearse, and almost like the director hands it over to the actors at one point, and you perform it. That Get rid of that with TV and film because you don't feel that. You get wrapped. You're like, I think that was it. I hope, and you really don't know till you see the finished product what they went. They're like, oh, they went with that take. You just don't know what they're even going for. Not all the time, and sometimes it's very clear cut depending on what the project is. But sometimes you don't know.
yeah, I again, I was my son was working on a film with a famous actor who shall remain nameless, and he was talking to the people were sitting around, and he was talking about how he'd never go look at the dailies, right? He'd never go look at like the finished stuff because he's like, I'm gonna like a take, and the director's gonna like something else, And so he's like, you know what? Once it's done, it's done. I did my job, and time to move on to the next thing, right? The next scene or whatever, tomorrow's thing, but never to go like look at the stuff again. Everybody's gonna be different, obviously, but for this person, he's like, no, I'm not gonna go look at that. So
That's a great point, and something I bring up, especially in my level two, when we start to work on self tapes, is there used to be a luxury that you never had to watch playback if you didn't want to. And in my career, on commercials, I almost always watch playback. But playback, by the way, is when you're on set, they're shooting it, they'll play back the last take. You can get a sense of what's going on. On commercials, I watch it all the time because very often a commercial, a scene's lasting 3 seconds or a shot. On TV film projects, I don't think I ever watch playback because I just feel like I'll get in my head too much.
mhm,
Unfortunately, in the world of self tapes, you have to watch it, at least some of it to make sure is it framed right? Am I in focus? Are my eye lines clean? So I cover a lot to how to watch playback and be kind to yourself because I think a lot of people
yeah,
start to watch playback. They go, "Oh, I hate my face. I hate the," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." I always tell my students, never give yourself a note that you would not give to the face of someone else in this room. I use that
mm,
one a lot. So we cover also how to watch playback because now you don't have the luxury of not watching playback, at least at home with
yeah.
self tapes.
Oh, that is important. That's great. Awesome. Well, Ed,
Yeah.
again, I said I don't know how long this is going to be. I think we're coming into 25 minutes, so that's great. Any final thoughts for actors who might be watching this on the actor's
Yeah.
journey?
if you're a middle-aged character actor, please stay out of this business because
Smart.
you're going to take jobs from me. If you're anyone who's not my type, by all means, best of luck in
Get
your
into
career.
it.
Actually, no, that said, I would love to see all of you in one of my classes at Vagabond. I've told Michael this off camera. I have so fallen in love with teaching. I love watching. I said right before we started, like 5 students have emailed me this week saying, I booked a commercial. I'm in a movie. I'm on hold for this. I got an agent. And it's very gratifying to see that hopefully what they're learning in our classes is actually transferring to real life successes. So come be one of
Love it.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get in a room, do the thing. Yeah, I mean, and our curriculum is different from other schools. I created it from my time as a talent agent and my experience, being a freelance session director through casting, at a couple different casting places in town. And it's built around, as I said earlier, like getting the full experience of what it means to be an on-camera actor, through our core. I mean, we have core acting program, we have core voiceover as well. Same idea that we're trying to like give that kind of experience, but since we're talking about on camera today, we built that in a way that when you go through our program, you really get that full experience from being, from audition on set, and like again, how as an actor do I manage all of those things. So, that's something that we want to make sure for those of you listening and interested in classes, and that is something that you kind of like understand about what our program does. Yes, we have great teachers and great coaches. Yes, but also the curriculum underneath it is really just a great way for someone to get the full experience. As I say, we are the comprehensive if I could not screw it up, we are the comprehensive on-camera training in Chicago, because we do the full thing, from audition to on set, and both online and in person. So anyway, little tag there at the end for actors who are listening. So thank you all who are watching this video. This has been the Actor's Journey. Thank you, Ed, for your time, your wisdom,
Yeah.
your experience, not just here, but again, as a teacher and coach here in Chicago. So thank you for all of that. I'll put this, up, should be on YouTube right now and on Facebook. So I'll put, links to Ed as a coach, if you want to find Ed as a coach at Vagabond, and our classes and other things. We'll put all those in the chats for you all to look at. But thank you all for watching this, and hopefully we'll see you around the studio and follow the open road. So thank you so much. Oh, my dog is attacking me right now. All right, see you soon. Bye.